I interviewed my mom yesterday, and she's like, Nate, what are you gonna ask me? And I'm like, I'll be honest, Mom, I don't know. Like, I mean, here's the idea that I have, like, what I feel like you guys, like, what I feel like my mom is an expert in or has experience in. And so so I gave her the topic. So she comes, like, written, like, like a page of things. I feel that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm like, Mom, you're like the most prepared. I
know, that's why I'm like, I need a topic of discussion. And then you give me that, and I wanted to be like, yeah, but no.
Oh, yeah.
It's not filming, is it?
Oh, yeah.
I should.
She is a woman of
I should probably preface this.
So tell me that
this is a family show.
Online.
Okay.
Let her phrase that. Hold on.
So don't cuss. Don't do like in church and start cussing.
Hold on. This is a clean family show.
Okay.
Got to preface the family part. Clean family show.
Can you blur that out?
Readjusting, y'all.
Welcome to Shoot the Breeze, a series on our podcast that celebrates the messiness of life, relationships, and Christianity, featuring my wife Lacey and myself, Nathan. It's creatively titled because it will be just us shooting the breeze, sometimes with guests, while occasionally saying something important. We hope you enjoy.
I'm Jim Joyner. I'm married to Lauren Joyner.
Okay.
I'm a car salesman.
No, I like the previous title.
You like sales consultant? I'm a sales consultant at Johnsonsville Ford in Marble Falls, Texas.
If you're looking for
an F-150 or a Bronco.
This is not sponsored by them, but I'll give them a call later.
Yes. And you are?
I am Lauren Joyner. I am a stay-at-home mom. I do marriage ministry.
You both do, right?
We do.
Not just
together.
Yeah, together.
Actually.
Yeah.
We were doing it apart for a while there, but then we just decided, let's just see what marriage ministry looks like.
Let's see if we tried this together.
Yeah.
No.
See how that works.
Okay, so how long have you guys been married?
Oh.
Going on 13 years.
It'll be 13 years, August the 13th.
Magical years.
Magical.
Mm-hmm.
Just wonderful.
Just not a bump in the road.
Magical.
That's the right word, right?
I think magical.
Magical.
Is that the family word?
Because there's good magic
family word.
and there's bad
I've
magic.
been told this is family show.
We'll use magical for anything you guys want.
Yeah.
That's not family oriented.
That's right. Yes. My new word for the day. Yes. Magical years.
You're being so magical right
They
now.
are so magical.
Okay. Goodness. Okay.
Signs and wonders.
Individually, what is your favorite way to waste time?
Read books.
You read. Okay. Mm-hmm. What kind of books? Are you like a nonfiction, fiction, fantasy? Like what are you?
All kinds. I like, I like mysteries. I like a lot of, I guess, Jesus help books.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like reading.
Like Unloved.
Like Unloved by
Like Unloved would be
is one of my top.
Just as an example.
Top
That's all.
books.
Which can be ordered on the website.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm like scattered. Okay, it is recording.
That's good.
See, keep that.
Guys.
It's okay.
My brain.
It's all
I
right.
told you today has not been magic. Today.
It's magical.
Today has
good
been magical.
And there's bad magic.
Okay, you read books. Jim, what's your favorite way to waste time?
Gosh. Relaxing. Intentionally relaxing.
Okay.
Shutting my brain off.
Okay, like what do you do though to shut your brain off? Like what do you
Sports. He likes sports.
Yeah, sports, but yeah.
What's your favorite sport?
To watch?
Yeah.
Football.
Your favorite team?
University of Texas.
Oh, college.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I could watch any college game.
Lost me there. Okay. Any sports teams that I've heard of?
Dallas Cowboys.
Hey!
Yeah.
I have a couple jokes running through my head.
I understand. Me too.
They're magical.
Magical.
So you do like watch sports, just kind of check out.
Watch sport, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you guys say, and this is great because I love interviewing a couple on this, what would you guys say your love languages or whatever, you know, the love languages, quality time, gifts, words of affirmation, service, and touch, like the physical touch. What would you guys say your individual gifts, your love languages are, I should say?
Mine would be probably acts of service.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, because I mean, I know you guys, so like when Jim is cleaning the house, dishes, all of that, you really appreciate that stuff?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. Jim, it's yours.
It's funny you ask, because I was just thinking about this, like, recently.
Yeah.
Physical touch.
Okay. So
I
you
used
love
to
it when
think words of affirmation. Yes, I love it when you touch me.
So when I give you a hug and whisper
so good.
so when I give you a hug and whisper into your ear,
Uh-huh.
I love you, Jim.
That's right.
You're my favorite.
And, you know, and a little nibble. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Family. But no, it seriously, in all seriousness.
Yeah.
I used to think it was words of affirmation.
Yeah.
Until I became, I guess, we've been more physically touching.
Yeah.
And I live for it. Like, I really like it. No, just when we're on the couch. It's.
If you're listening to this
Don't
audio,
ask the question.
Lauren is leaning away.
Don't ask the question if you don't want the real answer.
Oh, I love that.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah, I like it. So you guys have been. So like with that, do you feel like over your marriage that has shifted and changed? Because I know for Lacey and I, there's been a few constants. Like I'm always words of affirmation, and it's like I used to be physical touch, but
Me as well.
not necessarily my primary
Yes.
anymore. Yeah.
Same.
Okay.
Mine was definitely physical touch prior,
Yeah.
but
Now it's
definitely
do stuff for me.
shifted roles.
Right.
You know.
Well, okay, so because I think people, especially when it comes to personality tests, you know, all these
Yeah.
love languages, I think we have the tendency to take the test and then be like, I am always that always,
Yes.
you know, no matter what. And it's like Lacey and I, we can track it like through our marriage, depending on what we're working on or going through. Both our personality tests and the love languages ebb and flow depending on that. And how has that changed for you guys? Or
I think for me, like the physical touch thing comes when I am feeling vulnerable or at a space of vulnerability, and I'm definitely not in that space right now. So
Sure.
I think certain guards, you know, that you put up,
Yeah.
are like, oh, don't get too close to me.
Yeah.
You know, when you're working things out, sometimes,
Yeah.
like you said, it can just
Yeah.
even be just in a certain season. But for me, I can definitely see
Right.
my changing of certain
Yeah.
love languages.
And what was it for you, Jim? Like you were saying, you thought it was words.
We were just talking about it on the way over here. Recently, walking out some stuff, unresolved issues that I had from the past.
Yeah.
I would run after her approval.
Yeah.
So when I verbally got, you know, Hercules, you know,
Yeah.
you're doing good, baby, you're doing
Yeah.
good. You know, like a little lapdog. I was doing good.
Yeah.
I was loved.
Yeah.
I was approved. Now I don't care.
Yeah.
If,
Sure.
you know, it's not, it's how I'm going to operate or feel loved and cared for by God.
Yeah.
Doesn't depend on whether or not she gives me verbal praise or not.
Right.
A hug.
Yeah.
A nice embrace.
How?
A shared look, that kind of stuff means more
Yeah.
to me now. And this is like 3 weeks
Yeah.
ago that kind of shifted for me.
How? Okay, because I think. Oh goodness, I just lost my question. No, you were talking about how that's shifted and how.
And you know what? Let me just say this real quick.
Yeah.
As we grow,
Yeah.
we're not the same people we were 20 years ago. None of us are.
Right. Right.
So how can you can't put yourself in a box and go, that's how I like to be loved.
Right.
Because as you mature,
So okay, with that, like with your, I guess maybe now on the side of you know, helping marriages. You guys are in marriage ministry. How do you relate that to marriages when it's like you were saying, your identity has to be solidified and you can't receive that, can't maybe expect to receive that from your spouse. but also you're married. That's part of, in theory, a healthy marriage. I guess what is your guys' thoughts on that? How do you expect to receive that love, but then recognize, okay, my identity's not based in whether or not they do that? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, obviously constant communication of here's where I am, telling this person, this is what I need right now. But also, if he isn't able to give me what I need in that space, really taking that to the Lord and finding out, is it me that's not being able to receive from him right now?
Yeah.
And or what is it that he's struggling with that may be having that disconnect there? Really working on your identity in Christ, though, being solidified in that, I think that helps not knock you off kilter, right? Like you can be so sensitive or codependent to the other person's actions that, okay, if he does something that is offensive to me, or if he's not meeting a certain need, I should communicate it to him, but if this continues, then I should pray for him in that space, because there's obviously some kind of disconnect between he and I and him and the Lord.
Yeah, and vice versa. I mean, I know from the standpoint of, for me, I look at it, my approach to, how do I say this? This isn't sexy. So you know how TV will make my one, and everything has to be perfect, and it's oh my God, this is forever. That's not real. Love is a choice. So you choose to love. Right? Because he chose, we're following the design. Whether or not she meets every expectation that my flesh may have or that I think should happen in our relationship should never dictate how I operate in our marriage.
So to be clear, you guys don't always wake up next to each other just looking at the person next to you going, that's the most wonderful person I've ever met.
I usually have to come in from the other room.
Never.
Yeah. But here's why. Our girls come in bed with us and I get kicked out. And, But,
no, but okay, so... I guess you guys can be as vulnerable as you want, but in terms of that, what are choices and what are some things that you guys have had to work on to make it, like you're saying, Jim, is yes, this is a choice, this is a commitment, but I guess, how has that worked out in your marriage? What are things that you guys have intentionally had to do? Not that you did it perfectly or that you but I guess how did you guys make those choices?
Sometimes it's just the pain of self-discipline, right? Okay. You just have to make a decision, and then to really think about, okay, so for me, I came from a pretty hard childhood. There are things that I don't want for my children that I have had.
Sure.
To be able to give that to them, I have to make a choice of, do I just walk out when things get rough? Do I just call it quits when things get rough? Because that is the pattern that I saw. And that's obviously the easiest way out. Or my thought cannot be, well, this is going bad or whatever. It's, how do I fight for this to make this better? What is it that needs to be done on my part that is causing this disconnect or these issues within our marriage? But honestly, just sometimes you just have to decide. I mean, we have decided we will not get divorced.
It's off the table.
So what then does that look like?
Well, it almost kind of pins you up against a wall when you're dealing with stuff. Lacey and I have made that decision long ago. It wasn't even like a funny joke. You know how some couples you'll hear how they'll joke around. You know.
See, I was doing that for a minute.
Yeah. Well, and so it was funny because I was talking with John and Lauren too, and when that is no longer on the table, right? You are now forced, number one, to deal with the other person, but I would say maybe more difficulty
so to deal with yourself.
Exactly, exactly. So, okay, with that, what are things that you guys have had to do in dealing with maybe I'll start off with yourselves. Like, what are things that you guys, because of this forced conflict situation, right? Divorce is not an option, so, okay, now we're in the realm of forced conflict. What are areas that you guys have seen in your own self where it's like, okay, I need to step up, or I need to deal with, I need to resolve whatever it is. But what are areas that you guys have had to deal with on your own side? Because I don't know. I think I'm just thinking out loud here. I think oftentimes we think, okay, God, can you change that person? God, like I know I am struggling here. Okay, I'm struggling with pride, like the junk drawer of not dealing with vulnerability, right? I'm struggling with pride right now, God, but if you could change
Here
that person.
blame your pride again.
Right? So what are those areas in yourself that you've had to work on, and then we'll maybe navigate to each other?
That one, getting to the space of, Lord, change my heart.
Yeah.
Change my view.
Sure.
Instead of looking towards him. But also specifically when we first started, I was very jealous, I was controlling, and so I was also very young and had came out of a lot of stuff that caused those things. But so then having to deal with that within myself, going and having to deal with why, because it wasn't just him, you know what I mean? And he's not by any way of means like a ladies' man, or he's not a womanizer, or
Dude, I'm so sorry, man.
He's just not.
Yeah.
So
I'm stunning. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made.
No one said that.
I know. I'm just kidding.
I had to chase you down. So So why then? Why is this something that comes out of me? And I think being able to really self-reflect on those things and really deal with the root cause of them.
What have you done?
Just
because I think, honestly, as I'm thinking through this and listening, oftentimes when like Lacey and I've been struggling, and you'll hear a couple go, oh yeah, we had some struggles in our marriage and we worked through them.
What did you do? Yeah, what were the practical applications?
Well, we went to God and we, sought counsel.
Yeah, no.
And then, So, what are
and
maybe
some of it really was just God, me going to church, seeking.
Okay, so putting yourself in an environment.
Putting yourself in every environment that you can for God to be able to saturate those areas, because there's not always someone who can say or sit down with you and be like, let's pinpoint this root, right? Let's do that. So being able to allow the Word to at least highlight the lies that I believed. Okay, so His Word says that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Yeah. Why don't I believe that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so allowing him to come into those spaces and change those lies.
What have you found? What have you found to be some of those?
The lies. Okay. Yeah. So for the jealousy thing, the controlling thing, I came out of a hard childhood. So it was just naturally for me to want to control my situation because it seemed safer, right? Okay. If I have control, then I know what's going to happen and I can pull back or so on and so forth. With jealousy, I had to I had to let him go to the Lord with both of those things. I would be like, what are you eating? Why are you drinking that? Blah, 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 blah. You're going to die. And I was mothering him because I didn't trust God enough to change those things. So I was really just getting in the way. but it was also causing just a lot of conflict here.
What did release, so like what did release look like?
So...
did you just get over it?
No.
Right? Like,
it took a long time and a lot of working, a lot of bringing these things to the Lord, and a lot of repeating these things. It took me this long to believe a certain lie, so it's going to take me a while to have my mind renewed to believing what Christ says instead of this lie that I've lived out all of my life.
Yeah.
And so it felt terrible. It still feels terrible sometimes.
Yeah.
Writing stuff on my mirror, things that I'm challenged with, putting it up, post something. Like if the Lord gave me a word, then I would do that, and then I'd just read it all the time. Like you have to be so intentional with those things. It's so easy to set them aside when, especially if the other person isn't like bringing them up, or you know what I mean. You're like, oh well, this isn't an issue then. But you have to be able to step back and self-reflect, because it doesn't matter, even if this didn't, if something happened to him, I would still be left with my own problems.
Yeah,
I would still be dealing with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was very freeing, though, when I was able to give him to the Lord and say, okay, he's yours, not mine to deal with. And then I was able to deal with my own issues much easier because I wasn't so focused on his.
Yeah.
That...
Well, okay, so like the other day we were talking, and you'd kind of like alluded to or made the comment that you had to, like, you've had to learn how to receive like words that God's given you, right? Because there's this natural...
From my husband, yes.
Yeah. Because there's this like natural, like, I think we were talking, and I was like, it's like a mom, you know? My mama has to love me. She has to say those things, you know?
God tells you to do that.
Yeah. But it's the same with a spouse. It's like, well, you married me. You have to say that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what are you, like, currently doing to be able to trust, okay, I'm receiving what he's been saying about me. These aren't negative things. These are encouraging words, right? But again, dealing with that, releasing him, but then also being able to receive.
Being mindful that even something you said, the Lord is speaking to me through him. So even though the Lord is telling him to do so, then why isn't that a good thing, right?
Sure.
Then the Lord's telling him to do so. And I was like, of course he is. and he does, and every time he'll say something, like, the Lord will confirm it in other areas, you know. But I find sometimes this irritation with his encouraging words. And so...
Is that irritation because the words are irritating?
It's because I don't know how to receive them. Okay. They make me feel guilty.
Sure.
So...
We struggle with not feeling worthy. Like he...
So that's why I'm like... You know, I think that's where that rubbing comes from.
Yeah. What I was going to say, it's probably hard to receive truth or words or encouragement from someone that you said, you know, like you were saying, mothering. You're trying to mother.
Yes. Right.
Well, I can't receive from you because you didn't eat your broccoli. So I don't know what the fight would be, but right. But, okay, so, like, Jim, what are the areas that you've noticed where you're like, okay, I need to deal with this, and she's not giving it, like, whatever it is, encouragement. I need to deal with this, not focus on her.
Well, okay, I think we touched on it a minute ago about being codependent upon her approval.
Okay.
Would determine my mood, how I felt, what was going on. It was actually almost an idol for me. And I would get caught up on not getting approval and then work even harder to only frustrate her. I mean, it's just like a vicious cycle.
Sure. Dysfunction
on dysfunction. Meanwhile, she's seeing a weak, pathetic pansy of a man.
Yeah.
You know, around the house, and or wherever I was around.
Yeah.
So, I had to walk out some unforgiveness towards my parents that I didn't realize was there.
How'd you walk that out? Like, what was that process? Like, was it just reading verses about forgiveness?
No, God, no. If that were the case, it would have happened a long time ago.
But hold on. I want to pause. Like, I feel like as Christians, if we're in the Christian culture any number of years, I feel like that's like the go-to, well, I'm struggling forgiving. Well, okay, what does Jesus say about forgiveness?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. There you go.
I've told him I forgive him.
That's the answer.
Right? Like, I've told him I forgive him, so why do I still...
Uh-huh.
I don't know. So, like, what did that process look like for you?
I had to... so it always happens when Lauren's out of town.
Okay.
They abandon me, and I'm by myself, which is absolutely terrible for me. There is a Bible verse. It's not good for man to be alone. Especially if he's got unresolved daddy and mommy issues. So
left alone with his own thoughts.
You know,
not my problem.
Yeah. And the empathy and sympathy that I get.
Or the lack thereof.
I think I'm the strongest man I know.
Sure.
But anyway, so what did I have to do? I had to get real honest with myself.
Okay.
And identify feelings and anxiety and borderline depression tendencies.
Okay.
What was causing them? And getting really very real with God. What is that?
Yeah.
Where the hell does that come from?
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah.
You know, but just really getting intentional and intense in my conversation with God. Almost to the point where I was either shouting at him or maybe I was, I don't know.
Yeah.
Throwing almost a temper tantrum.
Okay.
But wanting to know why I'm built this way.
Okay.
And only to find that I'm not built that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, because you're what
I was
you're
operating in a dysfunction.
Right, and you assumed, God, you made me this way, so how come I feel so lack?
This is not whole.
Yeah. But then
amidst, and if this is what whole looks like,
sure,
I don't want to be whole.
So you're like in the middle of your temper tantrum, going, "Why did you create me this way?"
Yep.
He was kind of moving the conversation from maybe like you focused to more of a like, I didn't create you this way, Jim. You are operating out of X, Y, and Z, or
correct
unresolved things from your past, or
okay. Yeah, and to the point where let's say I know the first big conversation happened. I was still watching TV pretty regularly, and it was 11 o'clock at night, and I remember distinctively he just said, "Turn off the TV," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And I was alone, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, turn it off, and it's dark. And he says, "Go to bed." I'm like, "Okay." So I went to bed, and he woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just started writing. So the request for revelation.
Yeah.
And then he gave me distinct directions.
Yeah.
And then.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say, because I think sometimes, and I know in my own walk with God, I want answers, and I want them now, and it's like I'll get a gut feeling, I'll get a thought that I should do something. I'm like, no, I just want the answer right now. Right?
Right. Yeah.
But it's that obedience to what I feel like it has nothing to do with my question.
Yeah. Like Naaman.
God,
you dip yourself in the water 7 times. You're like, what? That's all I got to do?
What does that have to do?
What does that have to do with what I have?
Yeah. But there's cleaner waters.
Touch me.
But there's
give me.
But there's cleaner waters over here. Why do I have to go to the dirty water? Yeah. So how
she got a word to do something very specific. Just last week.
Yeah.
And it was funny. She even referenced that. She goes, "I feel like Naaman. Are you sure this is what I'm supposed to do?"
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
right.
I've said just do whatever you need to.
It goes honestly though, because I feel like when you're, especially in my own walk, when it was early on in recognizing God's voice, there came a point where I had to essentially get to the mindset. Let's pretend this isn't God, and I'm absolutely crazy.
Right.
What's the worst case scenario? Like, let's say this is a complete failure.
Right.
And honestly, I had to get to that point of like, okay, I feel like in my brain, God is telling me these things. Let me walk them out.
Yeah.
What's the worst case scenario?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, as I made those little steps of faith to go, okay, I feel like he said this, or I feel like he's telling me to do this, or whatever it is.
Yes.
And as I've walked those out, the far more clearer God's voice is becoming to me. Sure, some of the stuff I feel like is crazy, but it's not crazy in the way of like I'm dressing up like a clown, whatever, you know. It's crazy in the sense of
I don't think like
that's that. Well, that and it's rubbing up against something I don't like.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. This is one of the many resources we make available for free at our website, cultivaterelationships.com. Our resources have helped people grow in their relationship with God and others. We've seen people set free from uncontrollable anger and paralyzing fear. We've witnessed estranged family members be reunited after working through our freedom booklet. We've helped people build healthy relationship and coping habits through our coaching videos. And all of these resources are made available for free because of the generous support of people like you. If you would like to become a partner, please visit cultivaterelationships.com/support. Now, I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. As you guys are, like you were saying, there are areas in your own mind and heart that you have individually had to choose to work on. So how do you balance that with then you are in a forced relationship with someone in close proximity to you who appears to not be listening to God? Right? Like, okay, you're dealing with your own self, but then you're looking next to you, waking up to that person going, so at what point are you going to start talking to them, right?
Yeah.
So how is that played out in your relationships? Like, good or bad? Like,
A good one for Jim probably to...
I don't know. We've both experienced it on some level, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I think just that longer, like, space of what could look like.
Okay, so for me personally, the what I was earlier when I said it was a choice.
Yeah.
I have a choice.
Yeah.
This is what I choose.
Okay.
I choose to love my wife. I choose to love her like Christ loved the church. Christ is so patient with me. He waited how long for me?
Sure. Yeah.
He's so patient with me.
Yeah.
That's all I can say over and over again. He is so patient with me. It would be a disservice to my Lord not to be equally as patient and forgiving.
So what are choices you've had to make to pursue Lauren, to pursue her?
I don't.
Because
a lot of the things that I would like to do, I don't do.
Okay. Okay. So it's more maybe not choosing. Yeah.
Yeah, choosing not to act out of
I would like to run her over with a car. Yeah, but I would choose not to.
To not act out of my emotions, but or even being open to, nobody likes to be told how to change, right?
Right.
I'll use folding towels for an example. I've folded a towel all my life. I marry my wife and move in with her, and apparently I was not folding a towel all my life. I was doing it wrong.
I think this is like a classic marriage argument.
Right? But instead of saying, well, the way I fold my towels are fine, I was like, if you prefer me to fold a towel a certain way, show me.
Yeah.
I'll learn how.
Or do it yourself.
No. Yeah, or here's the damn towel. No. Yeah, sorry.
Family show.
Magical towel.
Magical
you
towel.
all know what I meant. But no, magical towel. Fold the magical towel yourself. But yeah, so...
You guys are going to have a new word now throughout your house. Your kids are going to be like, my parents are weird.
They're into magic now.
This is creepy.
That's the least words. That's the least of our words.
Yeah, they'll be in childcare and they're like, oh, they shouldn't be doing ministry.
Your kids are going to be in childcare going, hey, stop being magical.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lauren, like, what are things that you've had to intentionally choose in your behavior toward Jim? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Towels are one thing.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
But allowing somebody to tell you how to love them.
Oh, okay. Ooh. You just got me in a stream of other questions now. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. So Lauren.
And being sensitive to that.
Yeah. Okay. Just making a mental note because I want to. That's.
It's good.
Okay, that's so important. Okay.
Yeah.
Lauren, what are choices that you've had to make in terms of your behavior toward Jim? Again, I like that idea of, I'm intentionally not doing things. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
My kid will say, I didn't mean to, and I say, mean not to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So, yes, meaning not to or choosing to. I have had to choose forgiveness even when he's doing things that are just pouring salt on even just childhood wounds, things that even he would even know that they would hurt me, right? Like, I mean, and this is what we do, but it's not I'm not.
No, I hate that. When I look back at stuff, I'm like, ugh, lame.
Oh, yeah. Like,
I know, but I'm not being condemning. I'm just saying,
Yep.
I know
in those spaces, having to intentionally forgive and recognize the offense as, although it is an offense, I am offended, I am hurt, but that he is obviously struggling somewhere in his relationship with the Lord, if that is a behavior that's coming from out of him.
Sure.
So, choosing that his relationship with the Lord is the most ultimate important relationship for me. B, really just choosing to be obedient sometimes when you don't want to be. Choosing to do what the Lord is asking you to do. It's even the name and thing, right? How is this going to help? But it just creates such an atmosphere of safety, of caring, and of love between the two of you that it helps the other person to dig out roots. It helps the other person to have a safe space to deal with these issues that are challenging to them.
Right. So, in this, I guess, do you have any examples of things that you've had to choose? Okay, I'm going to choose not to do this, or I'm going to choose to do this, and...
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah.
Drink beer.
Okay. Yeah. Because that was something that...
Or drink, period.
Sure, that was something that you... Would it be something you used to medicate? Would it be something you used to... Like, what was your...
Okay, so I've noticed it affects this relationship immensely.
Okay. You and God. Immensely. Yeah. People who are listening can't see this.
Okay, sorry.
But really... my relationship between you and God. Relationship.
My relationship with, me and God. I can't hear him. I don't think. My heart changes.
Okay.
It's not good for me.
Okay.
Alcohol is not good for me.
Okay.
And when I drink, it's not like I necessarily turn into a raving lunatic or anything, but immediately
there's a break in.
Yeah, the God relationship is affected.
Yeah.
And this relationship's affected. Yeah. Every time.
Yeah. And so that's something you've had to choose, even though you don't go crazy. Because I mean, you know stories people drink and they get crazy.
Sure.
That wasn't necessarily you, right?
Well, I was raised around it.
Okay.
Like, I didn't know people when they got together.
Sure.
Didn't drink. I thought
it was just normal.
Yeah, I thought, as a matter of fact, when a friend of mine had me over the day after Christmas, and all of his family was there and everything, and nobody was drinking anything, and I thought, well, this is strange.
What are you guys going to do later?
Yeah, like, where's the beer? I thought we were going to have some beer.
Yeah, if you're not drinking, you're not doing it right.
And when I asked about, is there any beer, they looked at me like, why?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm all messed up here. I thought it was a party.
My bad, I'll bring my own. Yeah.
I gotta go. Anyway, so what was the question?
Like, what are some like specific things that you've, like you said, you had to choose to not drink?
Oh, and I was raised around it, so that was a normal thing.
Yeah.
So to be criticized or to sacrifice it
Yeah.
I mean, you're asking me to step away from an identity thing.
Well,
I know
it was your
me.
culture, right? And I think, dude, I'm glad you brought this up because I think, like, in a marriage, it's probably the most obvious way we see this. But we do this, I think, in normal relationships, friendships, whatever, where I'll grow up in a specific culture, and so things are good or bad,
right,
depending upon my culture. It was really funny because I remember we did not swear, like not even like God or Jesus, like not even gosh, like not nothing, right?
Ever.
Like, goodness gracious, you know? Like, okay.
Cheese and crackers.
Yeah, so I remember I had a friend, so that was my culture, right? You do not swear around me. And so but the other thing is the other culture, not from my family, but personally, the culture I built is I was okay with pornography. And so I remember I had a friend over one time, and he's like, I think he said like, GD, God damn it, you know. And I was like, hey, we do not say that in my house, okay? We do not say that in this house. Let's go watch pornography. like it was like, right? But it's those weird things like you're saying. And I had a friend who, he said, he goes, you know, pornography was normal in my family. Like that was, you know, my dad acted this way, my mom was this way, and pornography was just everywhere. It was normal. And so when his wife said, hey, that's disgusting, he was essentially
offended,
belittling his culture, right? And I would imagine it's the same with you with drinking, that it's like, to tell me not to drink, like, how dare you? That's my
So
family.
now you're taking my dad and my mom.
Yeah. So, okay, now you place this into a marriage, and you both have your cultures, right? These are things that, regardless of your view of the Bible or what people read into what a sin could or couldn't be, you have your culture, and to belittle your culture, like, how dare you?
right,
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So how, okay, so like yours was drinking. Like, do you have something like in your family culture that Jim kind of like rubbed up against or was?
Can I answer this?
You're like, I have a list.
I didn't quit.
For this.
Yeah. I stayed, you know.
we run.
Okay.
We're runners.
For all of the,
I mean,
what that might entail.
Yeah.
You run. Okay. So how have you guys, in the cultures you grew up with, both, because it's hard, right? I mean, neither of those are healthy cultures, but they are your culture. So how have you guys, in this, brought those together? Like you said, Jim, you had to choose not to drink, and I would assume you've had to choose not to run.
I'm still here.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Okay, so the other thing that I was thinking of is you had brought up telling the other person how you receive love. Like telling them, love me this way.
Yeah.
And in marriages, I guess, and as you've been talking with people, how important is that? Number one, probably that I imagine that it takes self-identifying where it's like, or self-awareness.
Yeah.
I feel appreciated, I feel important, I feel loved, I feel cared for, I feel safe, whatever. When you do this, how important is that in marriage to be able to tell the other person, like, I need you to do this? I guess, what can you guys talk a little bit about that?
I mean, yes, absolutely. For me, I had to learn how to talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, you and I probably, yeah.
I didn't even know how to communicate, and then just expected him to know that that's how I receive love. You know?
Okay, Jim, wait. So living with that expectation, but then her not telling you what the expectation is. How magical was that?
How magical.
Hold on, so...
But that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, whether it's like that in the beginning or changes over time or whenever you have the disconnect.
Yeah.
The Hollywood ending, the Disney, you should know me.
Well, they're the one, Jim.
You were made for
Happily
me.
ever after.
You know? Which I very well could be made for her, but I'm not a mind reader.
Wait. So can you speak into things that you had to do, Lauren, to be intentional on, number one, affirming your own feelings, but then number two, communicating, like learning how to communicate those feelings? Like, what did you have to do?
I am a writer. I like to write. So that's, I used to just write to myself. And so then I decided I could write pretty well, at least communicate in writing. So then I started to give him letters. I could edit it. I wouldn't get emotional in it. So I wasn't flying off saying things that I didn't want to communicate.
Right, kind of getting rid of the nonsense words.
Yeah, intentional. I'm not a confrontational person. I want to just get straight to the point, especially if I'm having to say words already. Then I would like them to be as minimal as possible.
Sure.
And so, but being able to write and to give him my perspective without being interrupted or feeling like I should not have those feelings.
Yeah.
Then that was the beginning of us being able to communicate. After that, I started then reading them to him. So then I became more comfortable with speaking them out loud.
Yeah. That's so good. That was the reason I thought Lacey and I were the only one that had to go through that. Like, I was the non-communicator. And so when, I think it was just the other day you told me that, I was like, I'm not a weirdo.
Yeah.
But it's true, like, for those of us who never were maybe taught or maybe you just grew up in a family, like you said, you're runners.
They never communicate.
Yeah.
They never.
Then you don't learn how to use words and talk, and so that is a huge piece of advice that I would give people. Is that?
And what you said about when we were talking earlier about allowing somebody to teach you how to love them or to adjust. I'd see her writing, and in the past, I'd just roll my eyes and like, here we go, another
There's something I've done.
What did I do now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I got, wait, she's trying here.
Yeah.
I am not, if that's my answer.
Well, okay, so what did, like, in that, like, at first, did you say anything or do anything when she would start writing? Like, did you, like...
Not in the midst of me writing, sometimes maybe, but not real pushy.
Okay.
But when I would write him, he would then just bring me the letter and start talking, and I'm like...
How'd that work out for you?
Oh, it was magical.
Retreat!
Magical.
Lacey had to start writing back.
That's what I had to do.
That's what he started eventually doing.
Yeah, I wisened up one day. I was like, wait, I'm doing this all wrong.
This was like 10
I'm
years
talking
then,
to
y'all.
somebody that does not want to talk to me. Like she would have come and talked to me.
Yeah.
But
That's
it's not
what it
even
was
like not wanting to talk to you, because I think that can be like the perception, but it's that I actually don't know how to talk to you.
Right.
And when I start feeling overwhelmed in those emotions, I just totally shut down.
Yeah.
And feel very defensive. And I just could not have a conversation like that. Like I was so overwhelmed, and I would just be like, and then it would end up heated.
Yeah. There's I remember one time, Lacey, this is pre-feelings journal.
Yeah.
We had camp chairs in our living room. That's how not wealthy we were. We had a camp chair, and I remember her just like, I was sitting in the camp chair in the corner, and she was like over the camp chair, like, just give me one word. Give me one word. Like, like getting louder and louder. And I'm like...
Phrase. Yeah.
In my head, I'm sitting on the beach. I'm like...
I have one word for you.
I didn't even...
It's magical.
No, see, we didn't
her
swear,
magical
though.
word.
It's magical.
Lauren, I don't swear, though. That's why, so...
Oh, you poor thing. You were stuck.
No, so, like...
You have no words.
So, well, now I have words. I have magical words.
I have words.
No, but it's that thing of I didn't know how to express myself, but then on, like, even deeper than that, I didn't have words in my vocabulary, in my brain, to even describe or express how I was feeling.
Man, when I read the Freedom booklet and it gave me this list of emotions, I was like, oh my gosh, I need this.
Yeah.
That was very key in just pinpointing what the emotions were, what I was feeling, because when we do get in those spaces, we blank, we freeze, we have even put all this stuff in a box that we don't even know how to get out. So I was like, made it so much easier for me to identify, like just to begin there with identifying these are feelings that I'm feeling.
Then I also, on the other side, know people who are like, I circle all the words. I'm feeling all of them.
Well,
and I'm like,
and you know
okay,
what?
let's...
I'm like that.
Yeah.
I'm that kind of idiot.
No, they're not idiots, Jim.
No, I feel like it is. No, I'm just teasing.
I think it's a narrowing down, though, because you can feel all those things.
Well, you
can, but you're not being honest with yourself.
That's what I was going to say. You and Lacey are high feelers, very passionate, right? And so you feel all the things all the time.
It's like, oh, yeah, I could feel that. You know, but you're not really...
Makes sense.
You're not like... So...
But it takes the effort to dig down into, wait. What's the root? What am I actually?
Yeah, because I felt like that. I was like, oh, I felt like this.
Yeah.
I felt like this. Like I could probably circle every one of these.
Yeah.
But then going back through and being like, okay, so then a question you asked me, what was my knee-jerk feeling to being offended or someone, doing whatever into a fight, whatever it was, what was my knee-jerk feeling? And that really helped me to be able to pinpoint, because sometimes we'll have a feeling and then 10 other feelings come from that space, but the root feeling being that I was angry. So,
well, and some of those, I think we've labeled feelings, but are actually behaviors, right?
Oh,
so
yes,
like
definitely.
Becoming, well, I'm just bitter, or I'm just angry. Okay, well, why?
Yes.
What's been poked at in your heart to make you be angry, and But yeah, I think for those of, well, I was gonna say like Jim and my wife who. They're I call them verbal processors, right? That you tend to be more passionate, you tend to talk more, say offensive things even though you don't mean it. It's just your brain, And then Lauren and I are more internal processors, thinking, deliberative, and it's like we both come to relationships with issues, right? It's like Jim and Lacey looking at everything and trying to hone it in, bring it into a single point. What are you trying to say? And then us have a point, have just any kind of point, just anything. Yeah, no, but I would say though, and I think where we ruin relationships, it's when you start looking at the other person as, oh, you are an idiot, you just need to bring it in, Jim, like, come on, rather than going, okay, Jim's a verbal processor, I'm legitimately not going to take anything he says at face value. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's funny you say that. So like when you're talking about having patience with one another before, if you see patterns like that, I heard it in a sermon once and it changed my life. Would you get mad at somebody for having a cold? Would you?
That depends. Did they wear their jacket when they went outside? No, I'm just kidding. No, I know you're saying.
If they were sick, would you get mad at them?
Yeah.
No? Okay. So then why would you get mad at them if you know this about them? You know what I mean? Like, or if it's a condition of a repeat something learned process.
Yeah.
To me, this was in my dealing with mental health, and he had not ever had to deal with that.
Sure.
And so I think he thought a lot of times it was an excuse or, you know what I mean? And he would get frustrated in that area. And so I think that's when...
Or even in dealing with what our triggers are, like what, our cultural.
Yeah.
Your learned culture, you wouldn't get mad at somebody for being sick.
Right.
So if they're just operating in what they always operated in and what they saw,
Right.
Don't take it personally when they do it to you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you give them grace to be human in that space.
I remember it was recently. So I've always known Lacey was a verbal processor. Always.
Yeah.
Always have known this. And it's like...
You chose her. It's a choice.
God sovereignly put her in my life to... No. And it's funny because I've had friends that once I recognized that they were verbal processors, they would just talk. And I wouldn't be offended. I wouldn't take serious. Not that I don't value them, but I don't take, like, all of their ideas as things that I have to run with, right? You just kind of hear, like, okay, whatever. Yeah. But it was funny. It was only recently that I realized whenever Lacey would do that, I would pick up offenses. I would pick up these things where
you could just listen to someone else, but
right. Yeah. But then she's telling me to do all these things, and I don't have the time in the day to do all these things, like all her ideas. I can't do all those things. And then she's using words that are really offensive to me because I didn't grow up with those words. And so it's like, but it was like, guys, literally like a year ago where I realized, oh my word, my wife's a verbal processor. I knew this. But I didn't have to take offense, and I didn't have to act upon
every word
what she was saying.
Yes.
It has been so freeing for me. That's her, so she's not going to change in her verbal processing. But it's recognizing, I can live a lot less offended, you know? Guys, I've been doing, like, freedom ministry for a long time, and this is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of those revelations. I tell people to do this, you know? But it's funny when it's someone personal, someone that's invested in your life. Okay. My own pet peeve soapbox, okay? And you guys can back me up because you're on my side. All right. Is when people are more focused on processing things that I want to use the term like are meaningless, right? Like the most overt thing right here, like that cashier. I'm so angry because the cashier gypped me 5 cents, you know.
Yeah. Can't treat people that way.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about your dad.
All right.
I want to talk about the cashier.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's this thing that it's hard for us when something's right in front of us to go deeper, right? Mm-hmm. To go, wait. Why did you get so offended at that cashier that, you know, forgot to give you 5 cents?
It has nothing to do with
Right. Oh, I want to talk about that. Okay. And then you kind of like dig into it and realize like their dad never provided for them, like abandoned them, right? It's funny how we can dismiss, no, that didn't affect me, but the cashier right now is affecting me. Yes. Or the person who cut me off in traffic affects me. They are the enemy. I think Satan's driving that car. I guess, so like how in marriage ministry, I mean, obviously you guys are talking to people, is this something that just I struggle with? It's like, no, let's go deeper. Or is it like normal? Like, is this normal for us?
I think you definitely get caught up in, we're having this little tiff, you know, and so you get caught up in trying to solve this one little tiff.
Right.
When if you back up, you have these things all the time because of this thing way over here that you haven't dealt with.
Right.
And so absolutely, we deal with people with those, you know, just dealing with those surface areas.
Yeah.
And fine, then they get over it, but then, you know, 2 months down the line, they're dealing with another issue that has the same streaming effect here, but they don't connect them because they're so focused on the right now, the present. And I think that's part of it is being able to look past this surface emotion. Why am I getting irritated that he did not put the forks in the dishwasher correctly?
Yeah. Because there is a right way to do it.
There's a right way, but
I'm very coachable.
Lacey and I,
but I'm supposed to just know.
Yesterday.
No.
Yesterday, she was putting dishes away. She's putting dishes away.
Right.
Why am I getting involved?
I know. Yes.
Why am I getting involved?
Something is getting done.
She's putting dishes away, and I was like, well, that's not right. She's like, what do you mean that's not right? I'm like, well, spoons and then spoon, like small spoon, big spoon, small fork, big fork. Yeah. And she's like, do you want to do it? I'm like, I mean, no, but you could just do it right.
I wish you would just do it the right way is what I want you to do. No,
I'm like, why am I getting involved? This is a stupid argument. But it's like, it was so important to me.
Yeah.
That she understood that she's doing it wrong.
Yes.
Okay, wait.
I mean.
So,
well, here's what's funny is, does she ever do that to you?
huh? Oh, all the time. That she's not here to defend herself all the time.
And she's not here to...
So yes.
I never correct Lauren.
Oh, I feel like it's a spiritual gift of hers.
Because I'm not good enough at dodging things that are thrown at you.
No, okay, so...
I just think it's funny. I think it's funny. We're all graced to deal with one another in a certain way.
Right. This
and I just think it's
brings up something, though, because...
And they're not equal.
No, this brings up something, and you kind of alluded to it, but I'm taking it from a different aspect, where you had said, like, pouring salt on a wound. Mm-hmm. So this is something that I think is vital for any healthy relationship, but then also in marriages, weighing the balance between, and you could take it whether it's the person doing it or receiving it, weighing the balance between you feel like someone's pouring salt on a wound as opposed to bringing something up.
Sure, yes.
Right? Like, so, because it's in a marriage, especially, but in friendships, in relationships, and in these areas, it's like, and I think maybe this is the messiness of relationships where you, at the same time, have to guard yourself from being offended, being teachable, like you're saying, being coachable or, but then at the same time, willing to tell someone where you feel like there's a blinder, like, hey, you're not seeing this in your life, and even, like you were saying, like bringing up childhood stuff. One who has not dealt with stuff would probably perceive that as salt on a wound, whereas the person bringing it up is like, no, this is a wound that needs healing.
Yes.
Right? And then, like I said, it's messy because some of us have dealt with childhood wounds. We've resolved them to the best of our ability, whether through forgiveness, all of this stuff. And then the other person just, yeah, but remember when you did that? Remember how you were doing that? Like, you just always do that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's, like I said, there's probably a give and take there. But I guess, I don't know, I don't really have a question here. It was something that kind of came up, and especially with the fork and spoon thing. I don't know. What is your guys' thoughts on all of that, or do you have any thoughts on that? Maybe I'll ask it this way. Like, what do you, in your marriage, in what you would and have seen in other marriages, I guess, what would you say to someone who...
I think, I don't know. Okay, here. Knowing the timing of, okay? If I've, okay, if I'm saying, okay, we'll just take the dishwasher thing. They go this way, right? And so, for him to, in the midst of that, be like, I think this is connected to a childhood wound. You know what I mean?
You're just like your dad.
Right. I think timing is huge. I think that...
Hey, Dina, quit telling me what to do.
Did you just call me my mom's name?
Yeah.
Yes. So, I think...
That would be
being mindful of the other person...
So you're talking about...
So like if
genuine interest of your
well-being to then bring this up at a later time, not right in the midst of it, but saying, hey, I've kind of noticed these things irritate you.
Sure.
And I kind of see a pattern. Do you think it's something, there's something more there that that may be connected to it?
So I maybe have a thought out, rather than just stop calling me my mom's name or my dad's name. Have a thought out, genuine, hey, I think this is connected to here and I see a pattern or whatever. So on the flip side of that then, someone who is like, you're just always doing that. Like, what is a healthy response to someone who is genuinely pouring salt in a wound, or or maybe intentionally or unintentionally, they are pouring salt in a wound. I guess what is a response to that then?
I mean, I guess it ultimately depends on what the wound is, you know what I mean? But definitely going to that person and saying, I mean, for me, it was a crying, but sharing your, not just your feelings, but where it's being specific with the person.
Okay.
Right? When you do this, it brings me back to this space. You know what I mean? So having that vulnerability with that person, that communication with that person.
Yeah, but they're just not a safe person, Lauren. They're just not a safe person. I can't be vulnerable to them.
I understand that.
No, right? Like, I mean, that's
that way.
You guys, I mean, we've talked to people who
scared to death of the reaction I was going to get, so I just won't say anything at all.
But what is the healthy way to do that?
Yeah,
right.
And let's I mean, I'm going to pretend here. Let's say they're the most untrustworthy person. Okay. What is still my responsibility? What do I do as someone who they're just offensive?
How do you deal with my offensiveness?
I don't.
Be as specific as possible, John. Yeah, no. What do you do?
Honestly,
yeah,
I give it to God.
Okay.
And when I say I give it to God, like I will literally pace and just say, I don't understand what's going on here. I don't, that has become my first move.
Yeah.
Then, after that prayer, and then I feel in dealing with your spouse, you know when to talk to them and when not to talk to them.
Yeah.
And you have to be very conscientious of how they process stuff, and allow them to do that, and come to you when they're ready. Yeah. Because if you force anything, you're just you're pouring salt on the wound. More. Yeah, you're not helping. And if you really want reconciliation, then you need to be what is it? The discipline. You got to be disciplined in that and intentional.
And in that patience, still operating in a manner, he's still encouraging to me. He still speaks life over me.
Right, you don't just separate until she changes.
Right.
Yeah.
No, because then her behavior would dictate my performance. And so, that's not what we do.
But with this, because it's like I agree with all of that. And I guess I'm going to make it really convoluted, so people listening to this podcast are going to be like, what do I do? Do one of whatever we've talked about. Because here's the other side of that, though, is had Lacey not pushed me in certain areas, I wouldn't be who I am today. So it's like, what is that balance? Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think pushing in love. I mean, pushing.
Okay.
Just if I think, and I had this revelation earlier today of all things. If you've never been treated good, if you've never been loved, if you've never been just unconditionally received, you don't know how to receive that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
When you haven't been held accountable.
Yeah.
And the other person's going, I forgive you, I love you. Let's move forward. Yeah. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't know how to receive that, you run like hell from it.
Yeah. Yep.
It's scary, man.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right?
Right.
I mean, I've recently received some of that myself. And I, in dealing with but it's uncomfortable. Yeah. God's love is uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah. It's obnoxious sometimes.
I mean, just overwhelming.
Right.
Right.
No, I mean,
it doesn't make sense. Yeah. His thoughts aren't our thoughts. Well, and he doesn't process stuff the way we do.
Well, and it's funny because, I'm probably, like I was saying, it's sometimes obnoxious to me. But there's other times where, Lacey, God has, very specifically spoken to her. I want you, this is God speaking, I want you to come sit on my lap and, play with my beard. And she's like, that is not the relationship I had with my dad. that's weird.
Yeah.
Right? But it was speaking to something very specific to what she's struggling with, what a heavenly dad looks like, right? And so that's what I mean is like kind of no matter where you land on personality or whatever, God will call us and poke at those things in our heart.
Yes.
You know, like to me, like, I mean, yeah, okay, I didn't grow up with the healthiest dad, but I would receive that. I'd be like, oh yeah, cool. I've, you know, whatever. Yeah. But her, it was like, that's weird. But then Lacey, for example, continually telling me that she's never going to leave me no matter what I do, no matter what kind of like mistakes or failures I have, she's never going to leave me. And I'm like,
that's weird.
That's really bizarre to me.
There's something wrong with
Lies.
you. Yeah.
Well, no, but like in her culture, using those, loyalty is such a huge thing, right? In me, I'm like, oh, I don't like what you said.
Yeah,
I don't have to be around you anymore. Like that's like
we're done.
Yeah, and so that's what I mean by I think God pokes at these things individually in our hearts that are going to make you feel awkward, to which you're like, whatever, no big deal, and then vice versa, right? Like, and again, it goes back to all of the things that we're individuals, and like relationship is messy, and yeah.
I can say this too, so I don't know if Lacey's ever experienced this, but there are times where she expresses love to me that I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
What's your angle?
What are you
doing?
What are you getting at? Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Lacey will do that. Like, yeah, Lacey just the other day.
I'm trying to pull a fast one.
Yeah, she was doing something. And I'm like, what's your angle?
What are you doing?
God's dealing with stuff, like dealing with organizational stuff and everything, and so she was showing me what she was doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
What's really happening?
What's going to happen here?
What do you want?
Yeah.
Do you know something about my doctor's visit that I don't know? Why are you doing this?
You're setting me up. Yeah, that's my go-to. You're setting me up.
Yeah.
You don't really love me.
Oh yeah,
You don't think I'm special.
So I don't feel like set up. I feel like, you know, like usually it's she's doing something because I've not done it. Right? So I'm like, what did I not do? And I feel like I've done it.
Yeah.
But maybe apparently she has her own fork scenario, okay?
Yeah.
Apparently you're supposed to take out the trash when you're asked to do it, not wait 3 hours, you know?
Semantics.
That's my own thing.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Did you know that part of the taking out the trash process is replacing the bag?
I've been told.
That's part of taking out the trash.
I've been told.
I've been trained.
Yeah. And apparently you're supposed to do it right away.
Every time.
When it's full.
Yeah.
Lacey.
I shouldn't have to ask.
Well, hold on. When's it full?
When it's at the top.
That's right.
Yeah, but how high on the top?
No height.
Is there?
If I can lift the sides and push it down, there's room.
Then
There's plenty of room.
Then push it down.
Lacey has just gone to, like, she'll ask me, hey, can you take out the trash? Rarely do I notice it. Rarely do I see it. I don't see it. She'll be like, hey, can you take out the trash? Don't look at me with those judging eyes. What?
It made me feel better about my son.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they actually don't.
No, you don't. No, guys.
That's
no,
his
guys.
chore.
She literally, one time, she literally took the trash, put it in front of the door, so I had to step over it to go to the church.
Please tell me you did not step over it.
Because I didn't see it.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm dead.
Wow.
Because after I got home, and she's like, seriously? I'm like, what? Seriously, what? She goes,
what did I do?
She's like, I literally, you had to step over. I'm like, did I step over it? Come on, there's things you don't see.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
There's
good.
nothing.
There's nothing I see.
I see it all.
No, okay, so she just basically went to getting a new bag and just starting to throw trash into it. And she'll put the bag next to the trash bag.
Right.
Yeah.
Starting a new one here.
Yep. And by the time I see that one's full and I need to take them both out. Okay.
2 for 1.
All right. Guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate chatting
You're welcome.
with you guys. I always, it's always, I was going to say it's more fun when things aren't recording.
Oh, yeah. Well,
but this has been fun.
We're edited.
Yeah, we feel stifled.
You said family show.
No, seriously, Jim, Lauren, love you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, bud.
All right, goodbye.